Welcome to the roller coaster of midlife. I'm your host, Lucy Q. Have you ever felt that overwhelming sensation that the weight of the world is pressing down and causing you to question your life's trajectory? Well, today's guest is a testament to the idea that sometimes burnout isn't the end, but rather a detour to a much needed new beginning. Dr. Brenda, and I'm so sorry, Brenda, I forgot to ask the correct pronunciation of your last name. I'm going to take a stab at it here. Uekert?
Uekert, very
Uekert.
close.
Okay, Dr. Brenda Uekert has worn several hats: sociologist, an advocate for justice, and a financial coach. But now, and most importantly, she's an adventurer of life. Brenda has traded courtrooms for campgrounds and board meetings for breathtaking views, and she didn't do it alone. 3 furry feline friends are always the passenger as she roams the beautiful landscapes of America in her RV. Brenda took the leap, proving that midlife isn't a time to slow down, but to shift gears and drive towards what truly matters. Welcome, Brenda.
Wow, thank you for having me. I'm going to have to steal that, from courtroom to campground. That
It
was
is
so clever.
yours. It
I,
is
I'm
yours.
grabbing it.
Mm. Sorry, it's the weather's really muggy here. As I mentioned before we hit record, Hurricane Franklin's passing by, and it can get really hot in here. I think I'm steaming up. Um, so and this is, this is midlife. This is the ups and downs of it. Um, I'm just wondering though, you've got a very interesting story because you noticed that there was something not working in your life, and you noticed that you needed to make a change. Can you take us back to that tipping point when you realized that your current path just wasn't sustainable anymore?
Oh, I absolutely can. So I'll give you a little bit of background. That I am a sociologist. I have a PhD and been working on justice system reform, primarily the areas of elder abuse and elder exploitation and adult guardianships. And I had worked to a very high level in my career, but everything was grant based and it was very, very demanding. Like most of us, we get used to the workload, and it's chaotic, it's crazy. And a couple of things happened that were kind of simple things. One is I took a month off for vacation, never took a whole month off, and had just a fantastic time. Went up to Shenandoah National Park, learned how to do some wood carving, visited family, just had a great time. And I got that little taste of what freedom looks like. And when I came back, something was just a little off, just wasn't quite as passionate about the subject as I was before. And then it was really came down to a couple of little things. One was a colleague, a coworker, someone I'd known for almost 17 years, walked to my office, and she stood in the doorway and she said, "Brenda, I feel like I can't even pop in, say hello to you anymore, because I could see you're looking at that clock over my shoulder." And she was right. And I just thought, what had my life become? I couldn't take the time to stop and see a friend and say, "Hey, how are you? How's your family?" And so those sorts of things started to make, kind of resonate in the background. And then it was really the breaking point. You don't realize you're in burnout when you're in burnout. And if you've ever had a boss that's kind of belittling, puts you down, you can take it. And some days, one day, one moment, it just becomes too much. And that's the position I was in, with that little voice in my head said, "You know what? Nothing's going to change. You're never going to get the staff to help you with the projects. You're always going to be overworked. This organization does not value your work. This person has no idea what the hell you're doing." And I ended up, I had a tea mug in my hand, and I'm not proud of it, but tea mug just kind of, something reached down, tea mug ended up across the room, and it's like, that's it. I'm done with this career. I'm done with this job. There's got to be more to it. And I felt like so many people do, like, oh, well, maybe I can just wait until retirement. I'm going to keep working until retirement. And you see people our own health is impacted. We see people pass away. They never make it to retirement. And it just put me on pause. What am I doing? This is not a way to live today, to think about retirement in 10 years. Then I'll have the money. Then I'll have the time. What if I never have the time? Time is the most precious asset. So I basically threw my career away, pivoted. So what can I do? To me, the financial freedom is the biggest factor in what happens to us, especially at a certain age. If you've got no savings, your opportunities are very limited. So I became a financial coach, helping women reach financial freedom. Sat at the dining room table, built my business, 18 months, worked longer hours than I did before, and I was miserable. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. My lifestyle sucks. So obese, drinking too much, unhealthy, very unhappy. COVID came, all those things are in the mix. And I'm like, this house doesn't bring me joy anymore. I miss nature. I miss travel. I miss meeting people. Bought an RV, traded in the house, and I've been on the road since May 2020.
Wow. There's so much of that, I think back to the commercials that we watched when we were younger about, I think the financial planning company talked about Freedom 55, being able to go and do all of those things when you're 55. But, let's face it, the economic situation that most of us living in, especially here in Canada, your prospects of even being able to retire at 65 are slim to none. So, to think that you threw, as you say, you threw away not one, but two careers to follow this dream. You really did something that many people only ever dream and wish about.
Well, the financial coaching is something I still do. So I have the speaking and financial coaching and financial wellness, because the truth is, now I'm not coming at you from my RV because I have no internet connection at the campground. So I'm actually visiting family in Wisconsin. But the truth is, you can do a lot of work online. A lot of jobs are remote. And when I think about work, the old style of work was, here's work, and then your life has to fit around work. You work Monday through Friday, and then weekends come and you're taking care of the house, the yard, maybe having a little fun, doing the laundry, getting ready for the next week. But work is central. And I believe in switching that around. Here's my life. Work has to fit into my life. So I have created a very different lifestyle where, if it's a rainy, yucky day, I'm sitting around doing my work. If I've got a beautiful sunny day, maybe I work for a couple of hours and then I'm out hiking. And that is, to me, the most fulfilling way that we have autonomy, we have control, and we can get out and enjoy life. Our life rules our work, not the other way around.
But that concept of our work ruling our lives, that's something that is ingrained in us right from the minute we step through the doors of school when we're 5 years old. From the age of 5, we are programmed to fit into that 9 to 5, to respond to bells and whistles and to check those boxes. So, by the time we become adults, we don't know any other way of being.
True.
And we're sold this pack of lies that we have to work this 9 to 5 until you're 65. You get the golden watch, you get the handshake, and then you get to enjoy life. I mean, how many of us are sitting there, waiting for Friday, dreading Sunday evening because we know Monday's coming?
Something that, so I lived in poverty in my early 30s. I'd gotten downsized out of a position. And it wasn't until I was really 40, it's like I started to really take charge of my finances. And there's this movement called the FIRE movement, FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. And when I learned about the math behind the FIRE movement, I was blown away. So I'll give you two numbers. One is 16.7, the other is 51.2. If you work a typical job and you save 10%, you put 10% away, you will be financially independent in 51.2 years. Think about that. If you can work it out so you can save half of your income, you will be financially independent in 16.7 years.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, think about that. If you knew that when you were 30, you could be financially independent when you're 47.
Yeah. And again,
So,
it's not something that they want to teach us because they need us to keep punching the clock.
well, everyone that I know who is, a speaker, a leader in the FIRE movement, we're self-taught. We are self-taught. We don't come from a financial background because, when you go into a financial advisor, for instance, one of the big questions they'll ask you is, what's your income? How much money do you make? And you know what? It doesn't matter. That's not an equation. That's not a factor in the equation that I just gave you. It's all based on expenses. Everything is based on how much you're spending. So if you can spend less and increase that gap, there you go. You've reached a place where you don't have to work. I mean, how cool is that? Work becomes optional. But yeah, it's self-taught, easy equations, no tricks to it. But that's not the information you're going to get when you go into a financial planner or a financial advisor. It's all about asset allocation and time to retirement and stock portfolios and things that are kind of boring, a lot of jargon, risks factors, and so it's my motto is simplify and thrive. And when you look at the financial independence and financial freedom, it is really simple. There's just a couple of simple things you need to do, but it is all about mindset, and it is about educating ourselves. Lifestyle, same thing. Most of us, there are push and pull factors, something that pushes us from our current situation, pulls us into another place. And for a lot of us, like me, you kind of hit bottom. You just like you're so miserable with your life. That's the impetus for change. So yeah, I believe burnout somebody gave me a book called The Joy of Burnout. And that's it. It allows you to recreate, redesign your life.
But it's unfortunate that we have to get to that point of pain before. And
Yeah.
it's something that we're teaching our well, I call them kids, they're 21 and 24, our sons, is we're saying, okay, everything that we did is the wrong way to do it. So don't do it this way. And we're doing everything that we can to help them so that they are breaking those rules. They are defining life how they want them. And we've basically said, your 20s are about throwing as much shit as you can at the wall and figuring out what sticks. Make your mistakes, learn, grow, do all of that. And then in your 30s, you're going to be better prepared. But now I'm going to go back and add in your 16.7 and your 51.2 numbers and help them realize, and our youngest lives with us, for various reasons. He works away, so he's gone most of the time, but he's saving his money so that he can build his future. And that's what we've been teaching them is, you have to figure this out for yourself and be independent from, the norms of that 9-to-5 job.
Well, one thing I'm seeing on the road is younger and younger RVers. I hear stories. So yeah, I remember a couple talking about their son who corporate attorney, COVID came, he was able to work from his home and they had a child and help raise the child. Corporate calls him back and he's like, you know what? I'm going to take this other job because I can mostly work remotely. I'm going to give up that higher income to take this other position. And I see people doing that. And I think that the younger folks actually, a lot of them have their heads on better than we did, because the idea of success, we grew up with such a narrow definition of success: a job title, educational degrees, an income, a house, a car, a family. All of those things are success. And in fact, none of it's success at all. So I think sometimes the younger folks know that, it's about me and living true to myself. That's what success really is. But the challenge is social media, because there's so much pressure. You look at social media and everybody's, we talked about this earlier, everyone's happy and they're out traveling the world and their kids are at Harvard, and there are all these expectations, and that's not real life. But it makes us feel like there's something inadequate about our life, because we're holding them up to standards that don't really exist.
It's funny about social media. I heard, I don't know if it was a psychologist or somebody say, go and book your dream life, your dream vacation, the biggest vacation you've ever wanted. Go and book it and go on that vacation, but never post a single picture to social media. And it's like, I see people doing it all the time, going on vacation, and it's all these photos. I'm like, well, when the heck did you ever enjoy yourself? And who are you posting these pictures for? Do I care what your food looks like or what your cocktail looks like?
Yeah,
So
and
what are you trying to
yeah,
fill?
yeah, and the challenge is, of course, is we have businesses, so we have to post. I was telling somebody,
Yeah.
I said I would love to. I really moved away from the business side of Facebook, and I'm more on just do the personal posts. But I I would love to just not have to post anything. But as someone who's building a speaking career, working on finances, I need to get myself out there. So there's like kind of this catch 22, because yeah, I just want to enjoy my life and do my stuff and not put all that out there. But the business side says, well, I have to be visible. I have to get myself out there. So, but I really love that suggestion. I mean, I camp, and a lot of times I post just because the memory comes back up and I can use it to say, oh yeah, 5 years ago I was over here and now I'm over here. So, but that's, yeah, you're right.
It
Yeah,
there is a balance in what you do and how you use it. And I think that one of the reasons why you're seeing more and more younger RVers in the sort of the van life is because of social media. They're learning from one another, and they're seeing those expanders that can show them that there are other possibilities and that you can create an existence beyond the 9 to 5. And so I think
that's a
it's,
really good point.
yeah, there's good and bad in anything. It's, things just are. And it definitely, there's a lot of negativity in social media that keeping up with the Joneses. Absolutely. But, and, you're right. As, the line of business that you and I are in, we do have to share of ourselves and put a certain amount out there. But especially over the last 2 years, I've stopped doing a lot of personal, just on my personal pages for social media, because it's gotten a bit toxic, you
Yeah.
know? It's not a nice place to be. So I do what I can. I put as much good energy as I can out there, and then just, leave it for those people that do enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, great. I have met some fantastic people through social media and had them on the podcast and built relationships, because we do have this opportunity to be connected without being in the same city, in the same room.
Yeah. And you make some great points, because, I grew up with, I thought maybe they'd still be in here, the old encyclopedias, that was our source of
Yes.
knowledge. And I think about, wow, if the internet had been around when I was in my 20s, who knows what my life would have been like. So to me, there's so many doors that this opens into thinking about how we want to live our lives. But there's also, as a sociologist and as a researcher, we have convoluted facts versus opinions. And so that's been a challenge, folks putting out, you know, so-called facts that are not facts. So, there's no equal balance. Facts are science-based and opinions are opinions, and they do not equal the same thing. So I see that danger. I mean, I see that all the time, people falling for false information.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to navigate that one. I'd like to go back to that turning point, though, when you made that decision to sell your house and buy the RV. What did everybody around you, how did they react? What did they say?
I think the number one question was, how long are you going to do this? Like it was a phase, and I would say, well, how long are you going to live in your house? I mean, it's just as silly of a question, really. And so, people who know me were not really surprised, but there was also, the friends who were very quite conventional were like, well, aren't you going to get a regular job? Aren't you going to, they'd send me like job opportunities and say, I'll try being my own boss for a while. Let me just see how that works. If it doesn't, I can always, we have to see life as flexible. So for instance, I left for the road and I didn't know what I was doing. I never drove an RV. I've never been in an RV. I never slept in an RV. And there you are all alone in the woods, really, in the mountains and the beaches, wherever you are. And you have to figure out who you are, because what happened to me was my identity was wrapped around my career. When you think about it, you go to a party, what do you do? Well, I work for blah, 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 and I do this. That identity disappears, and you say to yourself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And so it took me at least 3 months on the road. And I remember finally sitting down. I was in Texas, and there was a little, campground water feature behind me. And it's like, you know what? I feel pretty good about who I am and what I'm about and what I'm doing. We have so many layers with us, and so many of those layers are defined by culture and defined by other people's expectations. And it is scary to unpeel those layers and try to find out who we are deep down inside. Midlife, that's often when we're doing that. Well, when we want to do it, it is scary. But you come back on the other side and you figure out, I like myself. I want to live my life this way. These are my values. These are my priorities. By God, I'm going to live life the way I want to live, the way it feels right to me. And that's what comes out at the other side.
Yeah, definitely midlife is when I went through that transition. I hit rock bottom. And for me, it was I was losing one, or I perceived I was losing one of my labels, and that was my label of mom. My oldest was getting ready to go to university, and he was going away. And that's when I started to ask those questions, who am I? And not having those answers is what brought me to rock bottom.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
either by force or by choice, I think we all face that crossroad of having to answer that question of who we are. And yeah, same thing. It took me a while. It took me a long while to come out the other side and go, no, wait a second, this is who I am. And I love me. And I'm going to live my life for me. And if you don't like it, cool, no problem. You go be you.
Yes,
Now,
you go
people
be
don't
you.
like it when you say that, but you have to be you.
Well, and they do kind of treat it as a phase, like you're gonna come back to us, right? You're gonna come back and be that person you were, and that's just never gonna happen.
No,
I don't want to live that life again. I don't want to stay up and work till all hours. I don't want to work for an organization that doesn't appreciate what I do. I don't want to work just for the money. I don't want to.
once you step over that threshold, there's no going back.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
do what we have to do, and partly, financially, people do what they have to do, but I don't think you ever identify with that job or with that career like you once did.
Right.
Now you see it as a means to an end. Healthcare in the United States, for instance, a lot of people work just for getting health insurance because it's
Yeah.
very expensive here. So, it's a means to an end, but it no longer defines who we are and what we're about. And it doesn't define our worth, our self-worth. We live in such a structure where, the more money you make, the wealthier you are, the more you're worth, right? That's not what wealth is. I mean, wealth is really about treating yourself well. It's about being kind to the planet and to the world. I mean, it's not all just about the money.
No, Dr. Brenda, you mentioned that when you got your RV, you'd never been in one, never driven one. And all I can picture is my inability to drive large vehicles. So I'm curious, in your initial RV adventures, do you have any funny stories of, learning how to do things for yourself?
I have so many stories. Probably my funniest story is, yeah, I'm a planner. I have backup plans and backup plans. And so, I plan my trip. I know where I'm going, like, next year. So that's cool. And I have all these contingencies. So I was at a campground. I pulled in and I'm on a roundabout and about to go into my site. And I tow a Jeep behind this big guy. So I have a 32-foot RV and I tow a Jeep. So I have to unhitch the Jeep first before I back into my site. So the Jeep had a dead battery. And it's like I'd been having a dead battery problem. So I knew, okay, it's all right. So I get out of the RV, I got the engine running, I go back, I'm in the Jeep, I got to unhitch, and meanwhile, when you have a dead battery, your car is in this tow mode of neutral. So if you're on a little slant, it kind of slides back when you unhitch, so you have to run back in and slam the brakes. And I did that. I'm like, that's cool, that's great. All right, I'm going to go back to my RV because I can get somebody to jump the Jeep and back into my site. And I walk back to the RV, engine is running, reach for the handle, and it's locked. It's locked. My RV is running with 3 cats inside, and it's locked. I'm no problem because I'm a planner, so I've got my coach key. I've got my key to the main door of the RV hidden on my Jeep. So I get the key out and go to the door, and it doesn't turn. Nothing happens. Well, it turns out when the RV is running, it goes into the safety mode so that you cannot open that door from the outside. So I'm like, oh my God, what do? I go down to the ranger station. I need some help. I'm locked out of my RV. And the other kicker is I'm locked out of my RV because my new cat locked the button. My cat was responsible for locking me out. So the ranger comes up and I said, my cat Izzy locked me out of the RV. And she's like, uh-huh, yeah. You did this yourself, right? You're just blaming your cat. And I said, no, there she is. She's sitting on the driver's seat. That's Izzy. She locked the door on me. Ranger looks at me and she says, if the cat locked you out, the cat can let you back in.
No.
And so I thought, well, you know what? Maybe she can. So I had my Jeep keys and I dangled the Jeep keys by the window. And the cat stepped on the button to roll the window down. She rolled the window down, and I was able to get in and into my RV. And end of story. So that you plan and you plan and you can't have all these contingencies. And I actually use that in my speech about how sometimes you need somebody else to come in and see the problem from a different angle. And but yeah, my cat locked me out of the RV.
Cats, eh? I got two myself. Now, do you have any gifts? You have a gift for our listeners, don't you?
Well, here's what I do when I'm on the road. Because when I burned out and when I was working, I didn't take my lunch breaks were grabbing some food and eating, and the computer was there. I didn't take breaks. And so last year, I decided to make these 1-minute videos of relaxation, thinking about me and so many people at the office who don't take a minute, just 60 seconds. So these are just like nature videos. Just you get waterfalls, you get ocean, you get forest, just you're enveloped in nature, and it's just 1 minute of relaxation. So folks can go to my website, drbrendau.com, and there's a subscription there, and they can get some of my free nature videos. And I'm actually going to put out a Kindle book, which is going to have the videos inside the Kindle book. So it's one of my
Nice.
favorite things to do. So
Nice.
free videos,
And
relaxation videos.
oh, I know. I live by the ocean, so I know all about just that 60 seconds you can take and breathe in the salt air and just watch the waves and ground yourself.
It
Makes
does
all the
wonders.
difference. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And as we wrap up, do you have any final words of wisdom?
Well, over the course of the years, I have really moved to a motto of simplify and thrive. And that's sort of the key to living. That's the key to a healthy lifestyle. Just simplify. We complicate things all the time. Simplify.
Beautiful. To connect with Dr. Brenda, make sure you're checking out the show notes. I'm going to have all of her links in there, as well as the link to get that free gift that she was talking about. Now, my goal for the roller coaster of midlife is to empower women like you to thrive in this amazing chapter of our lives. So go on, embrace the adventure, and start rocking midlife like the badass that you are. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend, because our greatest power is in our community. And don't forget to visit my website, therollercoasterpodcast.com, and click on Start Here. This is where you can get my free audio course, 3 steps to go from hot mess to badass and start rocking midlife. I'd like to thank you, my listeners, for choosing to join us. And Dr. Brenda, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep riding the roller coaster and embracing the adventure of midlife.